award seasons, which outlets are quick to tout how many women or people of color, for example, are among the nominees. The Gotham Awards recently announced their first gender-neutral winners in the acting category, and I wouldn't be surprised if other groups follow suit in the future. And we see new woke award shows springing up. Bang. Folks, when you take when you look at an awards ceremony like that, is there any wonder that these people have just lost a big portion of society? Okay, let's go back. Racism, diversity, and fairness. Okay, the Hollywood Foreign Press, 87 members, 0 of them are black. Okay, 0. So what do? They say, okay, you're right, we're wrong. Here, 21 of us now are black, 21 of 87. So what is that? Quick math, 25%? Okay, there's 12% of the people in this country are black, so now 25% of the HFPA is black. That's double representation. Nope, not enough. Too little, too late. You're out. You're canceled. Sexist questions of the women? Okay, this one's going to get me into trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. Scarlett Johansson and others said, why, there were sexist questions involved here. Okay, you show up to an awards ceremony with your boobs hanging out after you've had them surgically enhanced, and then someone asks a question about your boobs, they're being sexist. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for just a minute. And they ask about, or they ask about your children. Why, you're asking about my children. You should ask about my thespian attributes. Okay. You've lost me. You've totally lost me. This whole woke thing is ridiculous, ignorant, and a waste of time. Number 2, more Hollywood diversity. And if you look at diversity in Hollywood, and again, I'll use those 3 terms, racism, diversity, and fairness. It depends on who writes the definition as to whether or not you can be for or against them, or if somebody fits into that category or not. Who is arguably one of the best actresses out there? There's a whole lot of them. But one of them you have to think is Helen Mirren. She has been on top for a long, long time. Multiple awards, fine actress, good person, popular. In fact, there's a new film out there called Golda, and it's about Golda Meir, who was the Israeli prime minister during the 1973 Yom Kippur War. That was the war when Israel was invaded by a coalition of Arab states on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And some are causing a huge controversy. Why? At first, I thought this was a stretch. At first, I thought this was a joke. There's an article out of an article by KJ Yasmin in Variety magazine. Now, you've heard of blackface before. Blackface was the practice way back when Al Jolson and others would put on black makeup and act as black people. Amos and Andy, another one. Okay, so even black people couldn't represent themselves in the movies because the white people did. Okay, so blackface is a term that was used way back when. It was wrong. They don't do it anymore. But Helen Mirren, who's a British actress, playing an Israeli prime minister, she's been accused of practicing Jew face. That's right. Because according to this article, Jews don't count. Helen Mirren played an Israeli woman, and she's not even a Jew. Now, while Helen Mirren is not Jewish, Golda is directed by Academy Award-winning filmmaker Guy Navev. He's both Jewish and Israeli, and by British screenwriter Nicholas Martin, who previously worked with the organization, the UK Jewish Film Festival. Okay? But in the UK, where production was wrapped last month, Helen Mirren's casting as one of history's most historic Jewish women caused some uproar. In fact, actor Maureen Lipman, a Jew from The Pianist, highlighted the discussion about what has been termed as Jewface when she told the newspaper that she disagreed with Mirren's casting because the Jewishness of the character is so integral. This is all in quotes. I'm sure that she will be marvelous, but it would never be allowed to have Ben Kingsley play Nelson Mandela. You couldn't even go there. And when asked by Variety magazine to elaborate, Lipman added via email, Helen will be great. She's a good actress. She's sexy. She's intelligent. She looks the part. But in my opinion, and that's all it is, a mere opinion, is that if the character's race, creed, and gender drives or defines the portrayal, then the correct, if you want to use an umbrella term, ethnicity should be a priority. In other words, Golda Meir was a Jew. She can only be played by a Jew. Now, Ms. Lipman is not the only one to raise the issue of Jewface. Like blackface or yellowface, the term describes actors of non-Jewish descent playing Jewish characters. Now, on her podcast, comedian Sarah Silverman points to the pattern of non-Jews playing characters where Jewishness is not just incidental, but their whole thing. Variety's own Melina Saval also touched on this article about Hollywood's anti-Semitism problem. So Hollywood is anti-Semitic, okay? Now, because, as well as Mirren playing Meir, in the last 5 years alone, Catherine Hahn has been cast as Joan Rivers, Felicity Jones as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Gary Oldman as Herman Mankiewicz, Oscar Isaac, in a remake of The Scenes from a Marriage, okay? He also played a Mossad agent in 2018 film Operation Finale. And it goes on and on and on of non-Jewish actors playing Jewish characters. Now, as actors, we should be able to play anyone. That's our job. And I've had a wide and varied character playing multitude of parts, says actor Tracy Ann Oberman, who has starred in It's a Sin and Friday Night Dinner. However, we are living in a time of enormous sensitivity around the appropriation of characters played by people who aren't from that background. I've seen little similar concern about Jewish characters where their Jewish religion and cultural identity is an integral part of who they are being discussed with the same respect. Now, Jonathan Shalit, who's the chairman of the Intertalent Rights Group, agrees. Rightly, he says, there's an uproar when white people play black characters in a film, he tells Variety via email. Maureen Lipman is entirely right to say a Jewish actress should have played the role of Israel's legendary prime minister and committed Zionist Golda Meir. It's deeply offensive and hypocritical for others to suggest otherwise. Think about that for a moment. Because, as I've said before, if you do this, you have to do that. The whole if-then thing. In other words, if only a Jewish actor or actress can play a Jew in a film, then can you discount Jewish actors, Jewish actresses, and Jewish directors from taking part in characters that are not Jews? In other words, a Brit can't play a Jew, but a Jew can play a Brit. Is that what you're saying? If you're saying that you have to be a certain ethnicity to play something, then how did the play Hamilton ever get done? There were no black people for real. Alexander Hamilton wasn't black. He wasn't. But it's called poetic license. It's called doing things differently. And if you can get an actress who's as good as Helen Mirren to be in your film? You're a fool not to take it. Okay. Now, there's an author and comedian named David Baddiel who says the discrepancy is the point. He cited the example of the backlash that Scarlett Johansson faced when it was announced that she would play a trans man in the film Rub and Tug, which caused her to abandon the project entirely. If these strictures apply to other minorities, if this is how we're trying to make the world more right, more of a level playing field for minorities, then why are they not applied to Jews? What does it say about people, what people think about Jews? And they go on and on and on and on. Now, Mr. Baddiel also goes on to say, it is an anti-Semitic thing to say Jews run show business or Jews are everywhere in show business. But let's look at it from another point. He goes on to say, I've had a few Jewish actresses tell me that they've noticed that they don't get cast generally because they're told they are too exotic looking. And then the same women have told me that they've gone up for a specifically Jewish heroine part, like the central character part. And then at one point, suddenly the filmmakers want someone who's a bit more blue-eyed or light-skinned or a bit less curly-haired. Now, I predicted this 20 years ago. Hollywood, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, I said that Hollywood is in theory the most sexist, racist, and bigoted organization. Only the fact that because you can make a point to say that it discriminates more than any organization out there. Because if I were an actor, I would never be cast as Nelson Mandela because of the color of my skin. I would never be cast as another role. I mean, any black character. I would never be cast as a black character because I don't fit the role. I would also never be cast as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed character, okay, because I'm not blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Now, if you wanted to dye my hair and put contact lenses in, sure, maybe I could. But things just aren't done that way. You're not the right height. You're not the right age. You're not the right sex. I mean, if you apply for a sales job, does it matter what your sex is or your race or your age? No, if you can do the job, you do the job. But I'm here to tell you that I am never going to play the title. If I'm an actor, I'm never going to play the title character of the unsinkable Molly Brown. Because I'm not a woman. Women get those roles because it's about a woman, okay? I predicted over 20 years ago that leftist Hollywood, in theory, is the most discriminatory employer out there. But it's the nature of the business. If Hollywood gets 100% PC, then they become PBS. And when I say that, I mean because they only survive because of government subsidies, because very little of what they do is even entertaining, okay? If you say that only Jews can play Jewish characters, then you have to say that Jews can only play Jewish characters. If you say that the role of a trans woman actress can only be played by a trans woman actor, whatever, then you've lost me. That's the reason behind being an actor. Actress is being just that. They're acting. They're pretending. They're playing a role. If you don't look at it that way, it's akin to saying, well, you know what? I hate Anthony Hopkins because he eats people. No, he doesn't. He played an actor that ate people, Hannibal Lecter, in The Silence of the Lambs. But he's an actor. That's all. That's all. And if you say that a Jew can only play a Jew, then can a Scandinavian only play a Scandinavian? Can an Englishman only play an Englishman? Can an American only play an American? I think it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And I made the prediction many years ago that as soon as Hollywood stops doing that, they're going to be in big financial trouble.